This morning, we're going to be talking about the conscious mind. There's 3 levels of consciousness that we'll discuss, and then we're going to dive into one in particular on some of the research I've done, how I relate it to my own life. Essentially, we're really trying to build our consciousness nest. This is going to be a graphic that we're going to go ahead and build on the chalkboard that I think is really fun. And additionally, how can we apply this understanding to improve our day-to-day lives? Enjoy the show, everyone. Financially free and enjoy more of what the world has to offer. This action one, because this is where most human beings screw the pooch. So a little one-person trampoline, very hope I screen shared it. Like, there's no excuse. Like, phone numbers are just out there. You just got to pick up the phone, smile, and dial. So. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk Terra Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercises to help make you the absolute best entrepreneur you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, we're starting the morning off on the right foot, or this understanding as we're going to be diving into these 3 levels of consciousness. We're going to be diving into these 3 levels, and then we're going to pick one in particular and kind of rip it apart. I made this cool graphic called this consciousness nest, and I really hope that it can be helpful in just raising awareness. Our goal is to raise our awareness to what we are doing. Are we being the person that we want to be? Are we thinking and feeling about the things that we want to feel and think about? I'm really starting to believe that with discipline, with exercise, with meditation, and good support circles, we are in a lot more control than we think we are. We're in a lot more control than we think we are. We do not have to suffer all day long with these negative thoughts, with this bull crap here, thinking about this, thinking about that, all these unnecessary pressures when it's just not really a problem. It's only a problem if we make it a problem. But that takes work and levels of understanding, levels of awareness. But I'm really excited to begin to apply this type of understanding to my own life to see how I can be better each and every day. So let's go ahead and get to the board, folks. We're going to start off with these 3 levels of consciousness. I'm sure you maybe heard of these already before. We'll start over here just for our reference. So we have the subconscious. Then we have conscious. So what are we want to get down our 3 levels? Good morning, everyone. Consciousness, and then we have the super conscious. So we have these 3 levels. We have the subconscious. We have our just a regular state of awareness, our consciousness, and then we have the superconscious. So really, we're going to be focusing on the center one today, just consciousness, and how I believe there's a graphic that we can follow and we can interpret to understand ourselves a little bit better this morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful morning. So let's go ahead and get our graph. So we're going to be getting into building our nest. So let's go ahead and build our nest. And in this nest, there's going to be 3 components. I feel like this is probably a good time to get started with this. So first part of the nest is going to be the egocentric narcissistic self. So these are versions of ourself that occupy the reality of our life. So what we are interpreting in any given moment, so right now, say if you're listening to me, what you are giving your attention to. So the outside level is the egocentric narcissistic self. This is where you're just thinking about yourself. Next is we have the ethnocentric self. This is where And I'm going to give more examples on these here in a minute and the pros and cons of them. But the ethnocentric self, this is where we kind of care about things as long as it matches with my own values. Like if we care about the same things, then we get along and that's cool. But as soon as we disagree about something, I go back to thinking about myself. You're wrong, I'm right, that type of thinking. And then universal is where we're really trying to be as much as possible. And this is letting go of that judgment, surrendering, accepting that we have no idea what this other person's thinking. We have no idea what they've been through. We just don't really know, but we can find peace and resonance in any given moment for ourselves, because what you focus on is what you feel. We have access to, very few people, by the way, have access to this on any long duration. This thing more like yogis. People can experience this, but for how long is really the question. So these are going to be the 3 states of consciousness as we are building out our nest. So let's go ahead and get these 3 states down. So our 3 states. So we have. So on the outermost level, we are going to be having our first level, and that's going to be our egocentric self. This is going to be the ego. So I want you to think about how you go through day to day. This is where the most suffering occurs on the outside level. So this is where a lot of, you can think of personal planning for yourself. This is where you can think of like, I have this problem. I have to do this today. Someone's saying something. I don't like it. Think of I, me, my. This is in the state of I. This is in the state of the I self. And this is usually what causes a lot of stress and anxiety. So when we're thinking of the stresses and the anxiety of the world, so on this outside layer, we can write things like stress. We can write things like anxiety. These are the types of things that are present in the most outer layer. There are good things that come with the ego, with understanding the ego. Think of things like planning. Think of things like planning for your life, thinking about yourself, reflection. Some of these things are good, but the reason why it's on the outside and it's with like the ego and the self is when it's in a state of judgment. So this is something that we want to really be particularly careful of, is the judge. The judge of the ego. This is something that we want to be really careful of, is that judgment that is going on. So that's on the most outside ring, and that is with our first level ego. So really the point of the show this morning is for us to raise awareness and ask ourselves, am I only caring about myself? Am I suffering because I'm so selfishly focused on what's going on with me and my own situation? Am I causing myself harm? Dr. Paul Conti, one of my favorite, he's over the head of psychology in Harvard Medical School. They have at the Harvard psychological program, he talks about not making yourself special in ways that hurt you. People will make themselves so special just to hurt themselves. I have to do this. I am this way. I'm feeling that way. That's just how I always am. It's just about me, about me, about me, and they make themselves special in ways that hurt them. Do not make yourself special in ways that hurt you. There are a billion other people who have the same exact problems with you, and there are a billion other people with each little problem that we've had that have found a solution. So we do not need to make ourselves special in ways that hurt us. This is something we need to be very careful of and checking out. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the show this morning. So being very careful of this, being very careful of the ego and being careful of I, me, my problems. This is what's going on with me. This is a state of suffering, and this can cause a lot of stress. This can cause a lot of things like anxiety. Okay. Next up, the second level we have is ethnocentric. Ethnocentric. So this one's kind of a cool one. So this is where most human beings are at when we're in a positive state. So for me personally, this is where I spend most of my time in my state of consciousness. This is where I am caring. I have some love. And these are all present and each in different dosages. It's really how you're viewing them and the type of self-punishment and the self-critic that you're bringing to the table is really what's making each stage of these different. So I can be a planner in this stage. It's just I'm not doing it with as much intensity. I'm not doing it with as much stress, pain on myself. So ethnocentric, this is where we are caring more about people like our family members. So I want you to think of you care about not only yourself, but you care about your family. You care about your friends. You care about, say, your country or something like that. You are caring for other people when, and this is the big catch of the ethnocentric part of this equation, is when we share the same values. When we share the same values. So what would be an example of this? So we're lovey, we're dovey, we're all cool with this until you have an opinion that frustrates me and makes me disagree with it without knowing anything else about the person. This example usually does a good job of grabbing people's attention. So I want you to think for a second. I think for someone who is like, if someone is homosexual or has a partner of the same sex, then that's fine and that's okay. That's all great. But if someone tells me that they're against homosexuality, then I get mad. I get frustrated and like, oh, you are wrong and I am right. And this is something this is where it's so hypocritical that we can judgment and we can believe that we are so right that everyone else is so wrong. You see this with sexual preferences. You see this within politics. As soon as someone brings something to the table that you disagree with, bam, you go from being in the ethnosphere back out to the egosphere because you believe you are right and you believe they are wrong. And in a world where our level of understanding is so complicated and life is so complicated, it's impossible to really know what someone else is. So there's no stance that is fully true and right. And to believe that is, for me, that would be on the outside of the ego because I believe I am right and I believe you are wrong. So that's where the ethnosphere, the ethnocentric sphere, that's where that comes in. And we bounce around from these back and forth. So I want you to think you are in this state. Think things are going all fine and dandy. You care about other people, but then they say one mean thing to you, and then bam, you come back to self-judgment on yourself. You're mad at them. You like, how could you say that? How could you do that? And then you're resonating. You're mad. You're frustrated, and then you put back out to the ego sphere like, I am hurt. This offends me. This makes me mad. You're letting the words have weight. We do not want to let the words have weight. And that's what takes us to this most inner part of the sphere. This is the universal worldview. This is the goal of where I'm trying to be at as much as possible. I'm not in this state very often. I'm usually in this state, the ethnocentric sphere, where we're all fine and dandy until you say something I disagree with. And then that reverts me even farther out to the circle where I'm in my ego and it's all about me, me, me. So this is the state that we want to be in. This is the universal worldview. This is where we let go of judgment. This is where we surrender and we accept human beings for being human beings. Have you ever said something that you didn't mean to say? Have you ever done something that you didn't mean to do? This happens all the time. So letting go, surrendering, and accept human beings being in different states and acting abruptly, confrontation, conflict, war, all of these things, this is what causes things to perpetuate. So this is the universal worldview. I'm just going to put UW in the center. But really, this is where when someone says something to you, you acknowledge that they're hurt people hurt people. And that what they say has nothing to do with your self-worth. For example, we talked about say if you were gay. If I was gay and someone told me that they didn't agree with that, that should not hurt me. If that does not hurt me, and that's like they grew up with different cultural backgrounds, different values. I don't know that. I don't know where they're from. So when I let that go and I surrender and I accept that people are all in different chapters and different stages of morals, ethics, consciousness. We're all in different ways all the time. When we can start to acknowledge that everyone's at a different pace, not everyone believes what you believe at this very God-given moment. So this is the universal worldview. This is where we completely let go. We completely surrender. We do not let other people's bullshit overwhelm us. That is, there's no time for that. It's crazy to me how we can so easily get wrapped up in this stage because it's nearly impossible to be in the present moment in this ego stage. When you're thinking about, because when you're doing the planning, you're usually pretty far into the future. The future thing, if we're thinking in the future timeline or in the past timeline, that's usually the planning side, and that's like me. What do I have to do today? What do I need to do? How could I have messed that up in the past? All this stuff on the ego side of things, I want to be very careful of. So say we're on the outside. This is where most people are at. This is where I spend a lot of time too. And this is where I'm trying to evolve and grow myself to start working into the So this is where most people spend the time. If you say something and all people are doing is listening to you to try and think of something in their own head to say something clever back to you, that is because they're in the state of the ego. They are on the outside of the sphere of like our focus, our attention, our quality of attention. So we want to be careful of this being this, because it's like impossible to be loving in this state when you're just thinking about yourself. And if I were to ask you what is the most powerful thing, most wonderful thing human beings can experience in this planet, probably be love. It'd probably be birthing a child. How much of that is about you, about yourself? I would say not very much. So the ego is on this outside, and this causes stress and anxiety. It's all in a rush all the time, and it's missing those valuable present moments. Because we talk about on the show all the time, all I have is my present moments, and I do not want to waste them. We spend so much time being upset. They think something different than I think, so I'm mad at them. I'm missing out. Like that's all that's actually happening is I'm just missing out. I'm just flustered. I'm pissed off. I'm frustrated. And that's my reality. I don't want to do that, but we have to raise awareness to this to understand this. So we're at the outside stages. We're at the ego. And then we want to work our way in. We want to surrender. We want to come in and we want to care about other people. This is why they talk about relationships being so strong and powerful. So now we start to have some love and some caring for our friends, our family. We start trying to give to them. We start trying to care for them. And then that gets us deeper into the circle. So now we're caring and we're trying to be loving for people who we care about. And this feels good. And this feels great. And we want to do this more often. That's great. And this is where, again, I'm spending most of my time. I'm trying to help my friends. I'm trying to help my family. I'm trying to love. But as soon as, and this is something that I'm still struggling with, is like when other people say things I disagree with, or on the news, on war, on this, on that, then boom, it sucks me back out to me, on, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm feeling this way. I disagree with that. All this other bull crap that's just ruining my present moment. And a gold nugget is when you are frustrated and sad and upset, all the people around you suffer too. It's nuts. So I can think of a 1,000 examples of myself doing this. And I have empathy for myself because I know everybody does it. But I'll be mad. Say it's gray outside. I'm a baby when it comes to sunshine and the weather. I love the sun. I love the sunshine so much I can see it outside. I'm going to go have a cup of coffee right after this and go stand out there. But when it gets gray, I can get grumpy. When it's gray, Tanner's grumpy. And I pull everybody around me down. I'm like, yeah, this is dumb. That's not working. I'm stressed out about work, all this stuff. And I'm just not only ruining my own present moment, I'm ruining everybody else's present moment around me. So we can see how the toxicity just spreads like venom here and there and here and there. So we want to be very careful of this morning as we're going through and we're talking to people, we're trying to communicate with people, have a good day. So when we get out to the egoic self, we start to get in that negative state, we don't only ruin our moment, we ruin everybody else's around us. And this is what perpetuates things. Have you ever heard of compounding interest and how powerful that is? Compounding interest in the markets with money and all this. It works both ways. It can compound greatly in the way we want it to, but it can also compound in the wrong direction. And this is what happens with emotional intelligence. This is what happens with just feelings and states of being is we try to come into the state of caring for our friends and our family. One bad thing happens, boom, we get pulled out to the outside, to the ego. I'm hurt. It's all about me. And then another thing happens, bam, we get sucked out even farther. Now I got to go hurt somebody else to what I think is going to make me feel better. But we know that's not true. So it's like quicksand, keeps pulling us down and away. So we're at the ego. We try to come in to ethnocentric, and we're coming in now. We're sharing, as long as the values are shared, we're cool. But if someone disagrees with you, whether it's sports, politics, sexual preference, whatever the hot topics of 2023, right? Who even knows what those are anymore? But those hot topics, as soon as those come up, everyone gets all riled up when we want to try and get to this ultimate stage, this center point. This is the beauty. This is the bliss. When you are sitting, so I get to this stage, and I believe everyone gets glimpses of this. So I'll have a point in my moment in my day, and I'll be there. I'll be in the universal worldview. I'll be on a hike. I'll be in nature, and I'm just like, wow. Earth is beautiful. I'm breathing. I can't believe I can walk and I can feel and I'm experiencing everything that's around me. And you're probably thinking this morning, whoa, Tanner, geez, like guru-y, yada, yada. But this is like what we really want. This is the keys to the Cadillac. This is like just feeling and remembering all of the amazing things. And this is gratitude and agency that I pulled from Dr. Paul Conti's thing is we're able to just feel and be experienced and be in the moment and really enjoy. The words don't have weight. Who cares? I don't have time for that crap. And I'm just so excited that I can see and I can move and I have my health and all the things that matter I get to focus on. And sometimes I'll be in this state and then I'll pull out, I'll kick out to this state. And then I'll be like, I care about my family, but that dude's a real a-hole. I don't like him, don't want nothing to do with him. That's stupid, that's wrong, yada, yada. And then that'll kick me out to the outer spirit, to my ego. So we can, and then in a moment, this can happen in a split second. So think of your day-to-day. You can be in a caring, peaceful mood, feeling the steering wheel. I can't believe I live in this cool city. I can't believe I have this amazing girlfriend. I can't believe I get to eat this warm meal and we're in a universal view. And then you hear one thing on the radio, bam, you shoot out like a rocket out to the ego. Your ego is offended. It's like, how could I say that to myself? How could that go on? And yada, yada. And then we're in a state of suffering. And then boom, whoosh, we're right back here to the universal worldview. And then we're shooting out like, my mom called, I'm talking to her. Oh, that's cool. I have that going on. I have some family. And then boom, something happens. And then I shoot back out. Whoosh, I shoot back in. I take a little moment. I want to do a breathing exercise. I'm breathing for a moment. The mind moves I don't even know we say speed of light? What can we even say? We can go from such positive emotion to such brutal self-critics that just ruin our day. And I believe that we can raise our awareness to this, and we can really help make ourselves happier, healthier, better people. And that's our goal, right? Is to just understand ourselves, get to this universal worldview. Again, I'm not in this universal worldview nearly as much as I'd want to be, but that's why it takes practice. It takes practice, just like getting your biceps strong, lifting weights in the weight room. We got to sit down, we got to meditate, we got to raise awareness to these lies that we tell ourselves. I tell myself all these lies like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to be here. It's like, no, says who? Me? You? You know what I mean? So I believe that we make ourselves special in ways that hurt us, and that's very dangerous. And I want to continue to raise my awareness to this so I can feel better more often. And the better I feel, the more often I feel better, then I can bring to the table real content, stuff like this, that I'm passionate about, that I want to help people with, and try and make a real difference. And that stuff feels awesome. That gets me back to this universal worldview. That was my building of the nest. So that was my consciousness nest. That was my best crack at it. So hopefully that made sense and that wasn't too spacey or hard to understand. But if you have any questions about this kind of stuff, if you're looking for a coach, my name is Tanner DeWitt. I teach a class called the One Page Life Plan, where I really try to help people organize themselves, get their most important goals down, understand their values and purpose, and really take a bunch of action to improve their lives. If you know anyone who can benefit from that, I would greatly appreciate an introduction. You can go check out my website at talktotanner.com if you want to hear more about it, if you want to learn more about it. But this was my take on consciousness. This was episode 374 of the Talk to Tanner morning show. Man, that was a lot of fun. And man, well, of course, we gotta, in case you needed to hear it, I love you. You're a badass. You got this. Let's raise our awareness. Let's try and get to this universal worldview. Peace, presence, in the moment, Zen-like, little breathing, and have a fantastic, fantastic day. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you got value out of this video, please make sure to share it on your favorite social media platform. It means the world to me. We're trying to help other people achieve their goals as well. Thanks, folks. I'm out of here. I got to bounce. I got a busy day today myself, as I'm sure you do as well. Peace, friends.